The idea of baking may conjure mental images of horror and burnt treats, or it might inspire more optimistic imagery of fresh cookies and good smells coming from a warm oven. Whether you imagine charred rocks or perfect sugar cookies, anybody is capable of baking delicious treats. In fact, I'm willing to bet everyone who attempts could make a batch of photo-worthy macaroons. With years of experience and countless hours of time spent researching recipes by renowned bakers, I feel confident in sharing the process of baking macaroons. There are 3 components necessary to bake perfect macaroons: materials, ingredient preparation, and baking. I can attach ingredients if you would like exact ingredients. I'm very much willing to provide that. Now, first and foremost, there are some materials that must be gathered before baking can occur. Macaroons are known for their smooth surface. In order to achieve a smooth surface, a food processor and fine mesh sieve are needed. According to Chef Christina at edibletimes.com, overprocessing can lead to a release of oils and almond flour, which makes for lumpy cookies. In addition to a food processor and sieve, a piping bag is necessary. The cookie dough needs to be piped out in order to achieve symmetry. Remember, the cookies will be placed together to make sandwiches. Materials are important, but of course, the ingredients are the main part of the show. Macaroons have relatively few ingredients, but the ingredients are combined specifically. Almond flour is actually the secret behind the distinct flavor of macaroons. They have a very light almond aroma that cannot be achieved through almond extract. Almond flour will be combined with confectioner sugar in a food processor for dry cookie dough ingredients. Now for the wet ingredients, room temperature egg whites are needed to create meringue. It's very important that the egg whites are room temperature. In order to make the meringue, egg whites will be beaten with sugar with a hand mixer. Now you just beat this mixture until it forms stiff peaks. It'll be very similar to making whipped cream. You want to be able to flip the bowl upside down and everything will stay in the bowl. It's a little scary, but that's how you know your meringue is good. So after the meringue is prepared, you will sift your dry ingredients into the meringue mixture. After incorporating the wet and the dry ingredients, you will use folding strokes to complete mixing. So for an example, you would scrape along the sides and bring it to the bottom and fold it over the top. And it's just a way to ensure that the meringue does not deflate during mixing. Once the batter is able to flow slowly and smoothly, you want to transfer it into your piping bag. Now, with so few ingredients, baking is actually the easy part of making macaroons. Meringue is a little bit stressful, so once you get through that, it gets quite simple. Once you have your mixture prepared and in the piping bag, you will pipe 1-inch rounds of batter onto a silicone baking mat or a baking sheet lined with parchment paper. The rounds need to rest until the tops are no longer sticky. It can take anywhere from 15 minutes to an hour depending on how humid it is that day. Jody Tixier and Alexis Debeshnek at tasty.com recommend baking at 300 degrees Fahrenheit. I've tested this temperature in 2 different ovens with very different ages. One is 10 years old, one is 5 years old, and it was a good temperature for both ovens. Although I use this temperature, I use food.com's recommended baking time of 12 minutes. Macaroons bake very quick and they need to be supervised. After baking, let the macaroons cool on a wire rack, and once they've cooled, you can pipe or frost the cookies and sandwich them together. Now you have a batch of homemade macaroons. I hope that you all have a thorough understanding of how to make macaroons. With the right materials, proper ingredient preparation, and correct baking technique, anybody can make these delicious cookies. I used a combination of 3 recipes along with my personal experience to share a tried and true method of baking macaroons. After listening to this speech, I implore you to try your hand at baking some macaroons next time you crave sweets. Anybody can cook. All it takes is preparation and dedication. I've given you the preparation, so now try your hand at the dedication. And thank you, Mr. Fouts, for letting me do this speech late. I appreciate you very much. I could not imagine myself doing this a month ago. Thank you.